Hello and welcome to a bunch of unelected bureaucrats with our Brexit special. Yeah, so like I said, the whole country's gone stupid. I suppose what's interesting is it the politicians' fault? The politicians have behaved so badly and it got worse after the Brexit. Has that affected how normal people have approached it as well? You know, I mean, we should say Brexit is a reasonable position. I know we've said this, and we were very much thinking, both of us, voting Brexit was a thing. We didn't. Well, I didn't.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
No.
But we could have done, and we are very much on the fence. So don't think. I would assume that people would assume that we would have been Remain, because we're Liberals, and Liberals remain, don't they? Yeah. But it wasn't the case, you know. And obviously there was a minority of racists and political chancers. We know who those people are. But most people knew what they were voting for. At least some of them knew what they were voting for, didn't they? Oh. Supposedly, people saying next day, "Oh, I didn't know. I thought it would go the other way." But what? Or apparently, searches for what is the EU on Google went up by 250% the day after. Cornwall. The news was that Cornwall said, I don't know how Cornwall says something, they haven't got a parliament or anything, saying, oh yeah, we voted to leave, unanimously, overwhelmingly voted to leave, but we want to keep all the money from the EU, can we have it please? What? If you wanted the money, why did you...
I mean, there is quite a lot of stuff. I mean, I watched, I think it was a Channel 4 news thing, where a guy said he voted for Brexit to keep the Muslims out from Syria, Iraq and...
Yeah, it's to keep the Muslims out for all these countries that aren't in the EU. So yeah, some people thought they were voting against immigration, and they were not voting against immigration. They were lied to, big time. I'm sure some of them thought they were voting against Muslims or something, which makes no sense at all. The response from Remainers, and I mean reasonable Remainers, has been, stop talking about it. You're not allowed to talk about it. Like dictators are, we rule the world now. Shut up. Family rifts over Brexit, over this boring bureaucratic decision that really none of us really understand. You know, someone calling their mother a fascist and they're falling out. I mean, for God's sake.
I mean, it's interesting that sort of some people, I mean, a lot of criticism over the EU referendums, it turned into sort of like a debate about identity politics.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some people were kind of blinkered to the fact that they had sort of subsumed support of the EU into their identity. They made it a part of their identity. I'm pro-EU, I'm
because of the bad part of Brexit. Yeah, and you've got to react to Nigel Farage, the Sun, all that stuff. Well, I'm not part of that, so I must be Remain, which was not a logical argument.
I mean, I've heard people saying that all the people that voted Brexit were stupid, they were poor, they didn't know anything, Idiots. They were racist and stuff like that in the aftermath of the Brexit. And actually, it is true, some of for a very small minority.
4%
people aren't like that.
4%.
And essentially, we were arguing over the same thing, really. I think the people that are devoutly pro-EU, they look at it as we've got to be in the EU because it protects workers' rights, it's a force for good, it makes sure no one's left behind, and yet big swamp of the people that voted to exit from the EU or anti-EU are saying, hang on, we're being left behind. Yeah. Yeah, so there is...
There's no middle ground, like we said, because there's no middle ground, no one's giving an inch.
Yeah, but in that sense, there is, there's
essentially talking about the same thing.
There's scope for cooperation there.
Yeah.
People are saying, we don't want people to be left behind, therefore we should vote in the EU. And you've got other people saying, hang on, I'm being left behind.
We have been left behind.
We have been left behind. And what happened with the Remainers was, no, that can't be true.
Yeah. Because Farage is an idiot.
Yeah, but I mean, there is scope there for the country to reunify.
Yeah,
you're talking about all this difference, and
it suggests.
But it's essential that the debate gets onto that.
It's not going to yet, is it? No. But yeah, it suggests really there is a consensus, but we've been manipulated.
Yeah.
Again.
And in order to get back onto that debate, we need the Labour Party, who traditionally speak up for working class people who have been left behind by neoliberalism, etc., to get their act together. So what happened in the wake of Brexit? I suppose they, rallied together and and
Yeah, I
got
mean,
behind their leader.
it's so important. I mean, we should be now, our position for our 30 viewers, it should be really we should put a pro-Brexit position in now, rather than being sarcastic and all the other stuff, which we'll do this time. Because it's an opportunity. What can we do with it? You know, it's good. Let's look at it that way, and let's take it from the dodgy people as a sensible thing to do.
Yeah.
4% of UKIP voters voted to remain.
That's bad, isn't it? How does that
Well, presumably they're in the UKIP just for the racism, and they want to stay in the EU for all the economic benefits. You know.
Yeah.
I assume it doesn't make any sense, does it?
Either that or the stereotype's true and they couldn't figure out how to use the pencil.
Well, there was a great picture of Muslim voting. They must have actually ruined their ballot to do this, but it was almost worth it. It was funny. They put an extra box at the bottom, Sharia law, because that's what they're secretly voting for. You only think that if you've never met any. Fox News reported that we voted to leave the UN. Brilliant. Because that says a lot about Fox News about what they do, and that they know their viewers don't know what the EU is. So they don't know what the UN. So let's make the UN. Doesn't matter if it's true or anything, does it? You know. Briefly, let's talk about lying scumbags. I mean, the turnaround from I didn't say that. The next day.
I saw the Farage one actually.
Oh my
I
God!
was watching it.
It doesn't matter that he's lying. Because his supporters are a minority. Yeah, they are a minority. People who want to leave the EU are a majority. Yeah, but Farage supporters are a minority. Most people hate him. Yeah, and his supporters are zealous. He's the second coming, so he can say anything, and they'll just no. You know, he even lied about lying. He's, you know, I think he came up with the 350 billion, and of course we saw the thing on Question Time last year. Is it million or billion?
$1 million per week.
A million per week, right? Yeah. He said 350 million per week. Let's put it in the NHS. This number he plucked out of his arse. He made it up, and it wasn't true. And the Leave campaign, who of course had to take Farage out correctly. That's how they won. They wouldn't have won, I think, if Farage was involved. I think. But you think how close it was. Took that and wrote it on the side of their bus, knowing it was fiction and. It wasn't 350 million anyway, and they're not going to put it in the NHS, of course they are.
Michael Gove was saying you put 100 million a week in the NHS from
Yeah.
it. I mean, the issue with that is, when I heard that, I never expected them to put that in the NHS. When someone says to you, we'll have a pot of £350 million,
Let's spend it on the NHS.
we could spend it on the NHS, or we could spend it on whatever we want. We can redistribute that. We can spend it on science, because science was saying we get a lot of funding from the EU and stuff like that.
Yeah, they wouldn't say that though, because they don't like science.
I kind of assume, well, that's what's going to happen. There's going to be a big squabble, and probably it will go on a tax cut for very, very wealthy people.
The science one is a big one as well, because a lot of funding came from the EU, and that's a worry.
I mean, in all seriousness, when we get to it, I actually think we'll still have access to that. I think we'll still be essentially a part of the EU. The post-Brexit Britain, I'm not sure it's going to be that different to a pre-Brexit Britain.
No, exactly, yeah. All this nonsense, and really, we'll end up with much the same.
Yeah.
That's the.
But, I mean, for people to come out and say, oh, this is really amazingly hypocritical, I understand that the 350 million was gross, and that actually when you get back everything that comes to the UK, it worked out about 100 million or something like that.
190, was it?
190 million per week, yeah, okay.
Why didn't they just say that?
Well,
why didn't they just say that? Oh, it's gross, so therefore,
again,
you won't know what gross is, so I'll say gross, and then I win.
In the new charitable world in which we live, the argument was made, well, when someone offers you a salary, they tell you gross. They don't tell you net. They don't say, oh, after taxes you're going to earn £250 a week or whatever. They tell you a gross figure, 25 grand a year, 35 grand a year, 45
But it's
grand
not
a year.
taxed, is it? That's the thing. It's actually how much money do we actually give to them?
So, I mean, no, but it's a fudge, yeah?
It's a fudge,
It's a fudge.
Yeah.
But then, prior to the campaign even starting, the Treasury released this report that had this figure in it which was completely bogus,
Fictitious.
you know.
Yeah, they just made a number.
Fictitious
Yeah.
So in that context,
They're all dying.
it's tit for tat, isn't it? It's go, well, you're going to make that up. We're going to fudge it this end. So
Yeah.
I actually think that kind of balances each other out.
Yeah. Scumbags all
Yeah,
dying.
most people won't agree with that. There's there's some kind of difference, but actually, when you look at it, both campaigns were guilty of fudging the facts.
Twisting the facts is charitable.
Well,
it's very charitable to say that they were stretching the facts a bit, rather than just lying.
Yeah, but I mean, Farage had some bottle to sit there and say, "No, I can't promise that because."
Yeah. Oh, they made a mistake then. That thing that I said.
What the hell?
Scumbag.
You say they were right for Nigel Farage's campaign not to win it, but Nigel Farage played a critical part in that win. A critical part of the referendum. The Remain campaign was centred around the economics of it for a long period of it.
Yeah.
Then towards the end, Farage managed to turn it towards immigration.
Yeah, and
which effectively
the TV personality thing, face the reality TV star,
which played a big. I'm not actually sure. When I think the seeds of this have been sown over the last 15, 20 years, whatever you want to call it, 30 years.
Yeah, it's like we said. Yeah. It's neoliberalism has failed, and the word is out. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You never had a proper job. Behind him, in the photo, to make the great video, is a cardiac surgeon who survived Stalin's gulag. Face palming. Scumbag. He knows that. He's just lying. And obviously, these people who like him, and people like him do have proper jobs. They're plumbers or whatever they are. They don't realise Farage has never had a proper job. Getting a cushy job in the city, probably from his parents and all that stuff, and really from his upbringing, that's not a proper job. Taking other people's money, basically, from other people's hard work is not a proper job. But what really struck me was how he came across as so bitter.
Yeah.
Although he's won, technically, hasn't he got what he wanted? But I think what it is, he's got what he wants in spite of him, not because of him. The public gave him a vote of no confidence. He couldn't become an MP 7 times, even with all that coverage. And we'll see him because he makes good TV and people hate him.
Yeah.
And Ian Duncan Smith. He was the guy who actually said, "I never said that." And that was actually a lie, because he did say those words. He was lying. Well, politicians lie, but Christ, scumbags, they really are that bad. It's not a media image. They're actually like that. And we've got to support them we've got things have got to go well. It's got to go good. Please don't mess it up.
We talk about these lies, but again, I would just reiterate, if the vote had gone the other way, we would be talking about the dodginess of the Remain campaign.
Yeah, which was lying as well.
So that time when the registration server broke down?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And they left it open for an extra 2 days?
Mm.
All these other people registered,
Yeah.
And the point is, the Remain campaign had everything their way.
Yeah.
They
blew it. Yeah.
Even the turnout figure was right on the sweet spot. 72%. It's a high figure.
Mm.
The worry was if it went higher than 80%, then actually what's gone on is people are so motivated to come out and vote for Brexit.
Yeah.
That they're voting for Brexit.
And a low turnout would have meant leave as well, because the people that care.
So 72% was right on the sweet spot. It was right on the money, right where they wanted it, and they still lost.
Spectacularly useless, or in fact, their heavy-handedness of saying, "Oh, you idiots, listen to us."
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to you then, are you? You think you know it all, and you don't know anything. You're an idiot.
Be afraid. Be very afraid if we leave the EU. I'm already poor, so what are you going to do to me? Make me even poorer?
Yeah. So, yes, there's been lots of news, so we don't need any next week. It's okay.
Right.
Thanks. See you next time!